Biography on Fred Debear, United Pentecostal Church Christian. Okay. Now I've got a reasonable amount of memories on Fred. Now, Fred could be living or dead. I don't really know. I was in the UPC, the United Pentecostal Church of the 1990s, from about 1996 late till about for a year and a half to mid 1998. When I moved to Hughes, I was living at Chifley House in Chifley in Canberra, where the United Pentecostal Church Calvary Chapel is, and it was on the oval just across from the church. You'd go down a bicycle pathway, a walk pathway, and you'd get to the church, which was on another street, and it was all cream, and the main church room was at the front, but there was an auxiliary hall connected to the main church room where there used to be older services used to be held before they had the new extension. I do remember they were trying to get a car park built eventually, and they had a savings fund for that because it was just a dirt track car park. But Fred was a Christian in the United Pentecostal Church, and he ran the Bible school when I studied in the Bible school with Fred. And Fred had a beard, and he was a shortish man. He wasn't a short man, but he was slightly short, about 5'4", maybe somewhere around there, maybe 5'5", not 100% sure. But you wouldn't call him a short man, but he was a shorter man. He was a bit stubby, but he was a little bit gruff. He had that Pentecostal biblical fundamentalist about him. It was a little bit gruff, but not too gruff. He was a charitable man. He was a Christian. He did show concern, and he did show affection and kindness. Now, he did Bible study with me, and I got oomphed once when he changed his standards for the Bible school to, which was just a few people watching videos by David K. Bernard on the Oneness and things like that, and other videos from other UPC people. And I got a bit miffed when he tried to bring in the holiness clothing standards to Bible school. That was fine with me for the church, going to church, having suits and things, but he tried to bring it into Bible school, and I just got a little bit miffed with that and dropped out. And I was possibly overreacting in reality, but I was moving on from the UPC soon enough anyway, so it didn't really turn out to be much of an issue. But a few things I remember about Fred is that once coming into church, I was at my standard place in the middle at the back, and I think I was on the entryway where we meet and greet. I was doing that duty for once, and Fred came in and sat next to me because we were doing that duty that day, and we were singing from the Bible. There was a song going on, a praise song, and he asked me what the chapter was, and I think I said it was Zephaniah. I think it was a quote from Zephaniah. Could have been another prophetical book, and Fred wasn't sure or something, and I just knew because it had been introduced in the song, but I didn't. I sort of had in my head, I know the Bible that well. But that's just something I remember, and we did do an evangelistic crusade with Fred. Now, he wasn't really a regular Friday night evangelism on the streets of Woden and City and Civic, which I did with, first of all, Potter's House, which was just a suburb over in Pearce, and then with UPC I'd do it as well. Fred didn't come regularly, but for a certain evangelistic crusade, I think it was possibly involving Bible school, I'm not sure, Fred did come along once, and we all preached in the Garima Chess Pit area, where there was a stand or something at the time, and Fred preached as well, and he wasn't afraid of witnessing. I remember one thing, he had a view on the gospel that was Christ and him crucified. That's what he thought the gospel was, because that's what Apostle Paul says it is in the New Testament. And I remember that thing from Fred. I do remember another thing at I think it was probably a breakfast, a UPC breakfast. Or it might have been another time, but it might have been a breakfast thing or something. It was possibly just after church on a Sunday night in the auxiliary room. And we were talking about Jesus' name, and how he mentioned that it was possibly Jesua in Greek. And there was also another thing I was mentioning. I said once that God's name was once Jehovah in the Old Testament period, and Fred said it was never his name because it was so hung up on oneness, if you know what I mean. I did stay at Fred's, at Robert and Heather Taylor's house once with his wife. Fred was visiting with his wife, and they had a newborn baby which was called Jeremy, I think, or Jeremiah, which I think Fred once said was God's gift. And I remember talking with Fred on that occasion as well. There was another time which we were doing a move for a lady who was involved with the church, an Asian lady from, I think it was Isaacs. She lived in Isaacs, Ramallah, and she was doing a move. And it was a little bit disorganized, and Fred commented on how he'd never seen anything so disorganized. And he once mentioned, I think it was at that time, that day, said the word Saturday, but he said Saturday, sort of like almost with a U, and it's just something which, funny things which people say, which stuck with me over the years. I've made a few mocking jokes towards that comment over the years, just to myself, and it's not really anything funny, just a pronunciation thing. But Fred was a likable enough person. He was very, very much for oneness. I remember something he commented from in it's probably just a witness he was having with the church, how he people sort of knew Fred's story a bit, that he'd left the Lord many years ago and had come back to him. And I think he related how the Lord kept his hand on him and kept on dragging him back to the faith. I think there was he got a blessing of a house or something once as well, which he didn't have to pay for, or something like that, a major blessing. And I've criticised that a little bit over the years. And like, you have to earn what you get out of life, but these are the blessings of the Lord, aren't they? I'm not sure of the exact story of that, so don't quote me on it directly. But Fred got along with people well enough, and he was a popular enough member of the church. He was about somewhere probably in his 50s when he was in the church with me, so that was about 30 years ago, so he could still be living. I don't really know. I know that he left the church after a while and moved up somewhere up north, I think. I'm not 100%. I think it was somewhere up north. I'm not 100% I can't remember what it was. I think it was mentioned to me at the time, but yeah. Anyway, one other thing is that Fred Debear has been the model for the theophany of God in the angel saga somewhat, in as much as that the theophany is supposed to be tentatively a sort of an adopted grandson of Fred, a son of Jeremy, his son Jeremy, sort of in the theophany of God. And I've had pictures of God in the angel saga looks like that classic picture of God from the Monty Python movies. The classic picture of God, he's supposed to look somewhat like that, the theophany of God of the angel saga. And so Fred looks a little bit like that as well. Not identical, but there's a family resemblance. But Fred was a nice enough fella, and I have good enough memories of Fred Debear.